Well, hello and welcome. I am Timothy Maurice Webster, your behavioral psychology author, and I am joined by Keith Moore. Keith Moore is our extraordinary operating director of the Federal MBDA Federal Procurement Center, CEO of KDM and Associates. And we're going to bring you a conversation now. We've just come off a couple of weeks of some of the most extraordinary MBE capacity building, extraordinary collaborations, federal department exposure, unlike we've seen anywhere in history. Keith Moore, how are you?
Hey, Tim, I'm still on this exciting roller coaster ride that's continuing to scale up. I mean, after Baton Rouge and then Baltimore, my, as my dad used to say with a good gospel
Yeah.
song. He said, my,
Well,
my, my.
we're gonna
Um,
lock in now. We're gonna lock in now. I mean, we started out the last couple of weeks building on our IAEOZ summit, our innovation, agriculture energy opportunity zone summit, which you pioneered and built. And this year was extraordinary. Just give us a small recap why Baton Rouge was lit up with MBE energy.
Listen, it wasn't just the excitable crowd, intimate in nature, content in superior. I mean, the presenters wanted every person in the audience to get it, not just the information that they heard for the day, but how to take that information and apply it to their business. What was exciting for me is to see a state of Louisiana come together for the first time ever, an HBCU land grant, the only university system land grant HBCU in the country, Southern University, partner with us. I think that they were even surprised. They had no expectation of what we would be able to bring, from the federal agencies that came to the private industry sponsors to the types of content that spoke to disaster recovery, affordable, um, uh, you know, shipping container assembled housing to address homelessness, to address disaster recovery, affordability, at a time when all three, particularly in that location in the southern area, in Louisiana, as we know from Katrina in New Orleans, the likelihood of a disaster at any given time coming, where housing becomes so crucial. We talked about solar energy. We talked about all the energy transitions. We had the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, a tier 1 research school who partners with Southern University. And we literally were able to see how the hydrogen hub, the tech hub out of EDA, how Department of Energy and HUD and USDA all really can work together to accomplish the goals of course, the Executive Order 13985, where MBEs, small emerging businesses, really get a first time ever major, authentic chance to scale their business through government contracting. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think part of what excited me was to see that our online community was fully engaged, the fact that the technology allowed us to be virtual, we continue to produce our podcasts. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please do go to Spotify and search MBDA FPC. You will find us there. But we were able to capture voices, and you can hear the enthusiasm from the people on the ground. And I think what was most important for me, on my side, is to see that there was exchange of ideas from the federal side to the MBE side to the support side. We were funneling insights into the ecosystem where everybody was motivated and inspired. Because one of the things we sometimes don't understand is that the MBEs often have their solutions, but sometimes the federal departments don't know how to access the innovative mindsets. So it's a two-way street. And sometimes we just think it's MBEs who need. but government also needs. And so we provided that platform. And that was exciting to me. And I think that came through at a very high level. And we're going to be publishing these videos and sharing them on our IAEOZsummit.com website. So please, guys, go there. Make sure people in your area, and I always say, share the link with somebody who cares about this work.
Right.
So,
and I'll tell you, we had such a blessing, bountifully so, to be able to go from Baton Rouge to Baltimore at the NMSDC Med Week, right? Wow, it was, I can't, when I think about even last year, knowing how powerful it was in Alabama, prior to that, with Alabama A&M, prior to that, and with Morgan State, I'm really humbled by the growth of the IAEOZ Summit and how it's taken on a life of its own. And thanks to you all at the production side for really echoing this and making sure that the power of the content stays vibrantly alive, circulates throughout. And it's that piece right there, Tim, that I believe you're saying, that MBEs and small businesses have something to offer government, and that's called being a solution provider. But what we help facilitate is the confidence that MBEs and small businesses need, because all too often they don't have that technical assistance. They get rejected on way too many proposals, don't know why, and don't know where to go after that. We are creating an ecosystem that's transforming what works in government acquisition and going into communities, taking these public policies. And it was fun in Louisiana for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we moved to the National Minority Supplier Development Council, historic collaboration with MBDA Medweek, we immediately saw that there was opportunity to build on the exchange that we were having in Baton Rouge. The links are very, very strong. As we listen to the interview, and I encourage you guys to go and listen to the interview we had with Deputy Undersecretary Jessica Cavazo. She's the first female Deputy Undersecretary, who she said one of the most important elements, you can hear it for yourself, is telling these stories, is to raising the awareness and driving into the minds of our entire community that people are aware that if you're going to close the gap, we've got to see each other. We've got to hear each other. We've got to pay attention and we got to collaborate. And so that was a big part of the mission there. You can't close the gap unless you're talking to each other and collaborating. If you look at the extraordinary sponsors that were there at this Med Weekend NMSDC conference, people are behind this. And we now need to get in the ring, as you like to say. We got to get in the ring, and we got to make sure that more MBEs are in the ring accessing contracts so that we can close this gap at the absolute highest level.
Deputy Undersecretary, first time ever woman, Latina, Deputy Undersecretary Jessica Cavazo. I had the unique fortune to be able to, be asked to be at the White House, where she was one of the moderators to our panel. I watched her sit by Undersecretary Don Cravens during the Congressional Black Caucus at the head table, leading a conversation around with national leaders of what was going on with regard to, equity, racial equity, acquisition equity. We were in Orlando, where she spoke to thousands at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber, where we had the fortunate opportunity to sign an MOU. And then there was Baltimore and NMSDC, where your interview, like you said, really hit home. And those conversations are the kinds of examples of how you build relationships, where people literally begin to feed off of each other's intellect and experience and knowledge and resources. And so it is wonderful to be a part of this history. and we are continuing to transform what works in America. And of course, as you know, now we look beyond America internationally, looking at the continent of Africa, taking us to December, which is only a little bit more than a month away, where we had here in Washington, D.C., the Africa Summit. This is a story, it's a book, chapter by chapter, you can follow what works.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of why we are also energized on our team at the Federal Procurement Center is that we have real stories to share. And upcoming, we're going to be sharing a series on what works in supporting MBEs. You're going to be hearing, we're going to be writing articles, blogs, sharing more podcasts, distributing content on all of our platforms from Federal Procurement Center, MBDA, federalprocurementcenter.com to IAEOZsummit.com. So stay tuned, stay locked. We're going to continue to follow the extraordinary vision of our director and operator, Mr. Keith Moore. Keith Moore, thank you so much. And please share this newsletter where you're finding this episode so more people can be aware of the movement that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you to our sponsors and all of the panelists and presenters who flew out to Baton Rouge. There's much appreciation and love for the work that you're doing, the commitment that you have to our work together. Thank you, Tim, for the work you're doing.
Yeah, and please go to our website to see all the sponsors' names. They're right there. Thank you again from my side as well.